TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. The Ayatollah regime in Iran manages to convince the United States to include Lebanon in the so-called Memorandum of Understanding in an effort to salvage the terrorist organization Hezbollah. U.S. Vice President JD Vance, who spearheaded the negotiations on behalf of President Donald Trump, insists that the agreement with the Iranians is a big moment for the United States of America. And Defense Minister Yisrael Katz insists that Israel will not withdraw from security zones it established in Lebanon, Syria, and the Gaza Strip. U.S. President Donald Trump and the Ayatollah regime in the Islamic Republic of Iran have separately announced that the terms and conditions of a 60-day Memorandum of Understanding was reached and that a formal signing ceremony will take place in Switzerland on Friday. Efforts to achieve a deal were initially delayed as the Ayatollah regime sought to include Lebanon into the agreement that would lead to a ceasefire. According to intelligence officials, Iran had instructed Hezbollah, its proxy in Lebanon, to ramp up attacks against Israeli northern communities, which in turn triggered an Israeli retaliatory response against the Iranian proxy's stronghold, the Dahya neighborhood in Beirut. Ayatollah regime officials then began pushing a narrative that Israel's attacks against Hezbollah would effectively frustrate any American hopes to reach a deal, a disinformation blitz that managed to convince President Trump to demand Israel must stop defending itself and that attacks by Hezbollah against Israeli territory should not be taken seriously. He wrote, quote, "This morning's attack on Beirut should not have happened, and that while Israel has the right to defend itself against threats, the attack it responded to was very small and meaningless, since nobody was hurt, injured, or killed." The president then continued by essentially accepting Iran's efforts to couple the Iranian portfolio with that of Lebanon, saying that the deal will bring peace to the region, including Lebanon, and leveled a warning to Israel, saying there should be no more attacks by Israel anywhere in Lebanon, which effectively redefines the strategic equation to the status quo that existed before Hezbollah, at Iran's instructions, had launched unprovoked attacks against Israel on October 8th of 2023. Meanwhile, regardless of President Trump's statement, Iran sought to further pressure the Trump administration by claiming they would launch an attack against Israel. However, the attack did not materialize, with the Trump administration warning Iran that Israel would respond in force and urged the terror regime in Iran via Qatari and Pakistani mediation to finalize the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, which Tehran agreed to so long as Lebanon would be included in the deal. Regrettably, the Iranian maneuver evidently succeeded, as was unveiled by the Pakistani Prime Minister.
By the infinite grace and mercy of Allah Almighty, today the world has crossed a historic milestone of peace. After the dark night of war, the sun of peace has risen. Thank Allah. And after 3 months and 16 days of immense tests, thank Allah, Iran and the United States have announced an immediate and permanent end to military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon.
Meanwhile, the Ayatollah regime's Supreme National Security Council ratified the agreement.
They met in the Supreme National Security Council and, with an overwhelming majority, approved it decisively. They are now discussing how to proceed. Whatever the leader decides, all of us, the IRGC, the basage and the government will obey and follow.
It is interesting to know that a member of the Iranian National Security Committee, who had voted in favor of the MOU with the United States, sought to alleviate concerns among regime hardliners in Iran, insisting that the Islamic Republic would not negotiate its ballistic missiles program. Moreover, the Iranian official also insisted that the 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium of up to 60% purity levels would not leave Iranian soil.
I believe there are some in our country who oppose this. However, the U.S. urgently needs this. Trump, due to the upcoming elections and the need for peace during the World Cup, is also interested. Therefore, we are willing to proceed, provided that the interests of the Islamic Republic are secured. Regardless of the circumstances, Iran's missile capabilities are non-negotiable. This is our red line. This is an unchangeable principle. We in the parliament insist on this, and we will not permit the government to negotiate it, nor will our armed forces. The government shares the same view. There is a complete consensus on this matter. First of all, it will not leave Iran, nor will it be transferred. This is a red line. Why are they so sensitive about the 400 kilograms? They claim that since the enrichment level is 60%, there is no need for it. The maximum concession we are offering is to dilute it for our own needs. For instance, diluting it to 20% for the Tehran research reactor, based on domestic requirements. Therefore, the claim made by Trump and his propaganda tools that it will be transferred is baseless. It will not be transferred anywhere outside of Iran's borders.
It is interesting to know that Iranians who were asked about the pending signing of the agreement broadly viewed the deal as temporary.
I doubt America will remain committed, but sometimes we have to give 20% in concessions so that we are not forced to give 100%. I do not think an agreement will happen, but negotiations are also part of the war, and most likely the war will continue later. This is similar to previous negotiations, and probably things will happen again. America will not reach an agreement because, after all, this is part of its political games and it is trying to buy time. Perhaps America is waiting to see what happens in other parts of the world, for example, what happens to the Russia-Ukraine war, or what happens between China and Taiwan. America is buying time so it can return to the battlefield again.
Meanwhile, in the United States, in a telephone interview with Fox News, Vice President JD Vance insisted that the deal reached with the Ayatollah regime in Iran is a big moment for the United States of America, and that it is going to fundamentally transform the Middle East for the next 50 years.
I do think it's a big moment for the United States of America, thanks, of course, to the president's leadership and the hard work of the entire team. Three things that I think are important for the American people just to appreciate about what this deal does for all of us as Americans. Number one, this is the immediate opening of the Straits of Hormuz and, of course, the lifting of the naval blockade that we've had on Iran along with it. The number two thing that it means is that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and not just pursue a nuclear weapon, but procure or try to buy a nuclear weapon as well. That's built into this agreement. And then the third thing is, and this only happens, to be clear, if Iran delivers on their promise. And so there's an approach here where we verify and where there are real benefits so long as Iran meets their end of the obligation. But if the Iranians comply with this deal, it is going to fundamentally transform the Middle East for the next 50 years. It's going to end the war. It's going to make the Middle East more investable. It's going to mean a lot of prosperity, lower energy prices for the American people. This region of the world has been a basket case for my entire life and longer than that. And what the president has really set us to do is to certainly eliminate the nuclear threat of Iran. That's done. But now possibly to build to a new era of Middle East prosperity and success, where it's not a region of the world where the United States has to worry about so much, but where, frankly, we can generate a lot of prosperity for the American people out of that region. That's a very, very big win, and it all happened because the president stuck with it.
Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, Israelis voiced broad dismay at the details that are still emerging about the contents of the agreement.
I don't think it's going to last because the Iranian vowed to annihilate Israel. So when you sign an agreement with them, it just delay of their goals to destroy Israel and America. And I wish there were peace between Israel, Iran, but it's not gonna last, sorry.
Well, I'm a Northerner and I'm not very happy about it. I think it will last maybe 2 years until Trump is ending his term, and then we'll go back to the same thing.
A very bad agreement, as I hear in the media and as I hear from the Iranians and some Americans. I really don't understand Trump. I don't understand him. On the other hand, we went to war with them, and I see that they're essentially moving forward and, in my opinion, they have won. It's all about the mood there. It can't be like this. They will receive funds, the regime will not fall, and in my opinion, it's a catastrophe.
It's a bad agreement. Iran will not keep the agreement. As a matter of fact, I think that the whole thing was a betrayal with the Iranian people and Israeli people, because it's only American interest here, and it's for the matter of national security of Israel. This is the worst agreement that could ever be done.
It is important to know that while senior Israeli officials remained broadly quiet about President Donald Trump's announced decision to concede to Iran's demands on Lebanon in particular, that after a heated phone conversation between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz released a statement in which he stressed, quote, "Israel must ensure that in the future as well, we will have the ability to act independently to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and I have instructed the IDF to prepare accordingly. Israel will not withdraw from the security zones in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. The IDF will continue to defend our borders and citizens from the peak of Mount Hermon, the mountains of Lebanon, the areas of our land in the Samaria region, and most of the territory of Gaza, against the threats posed by jihadist forces and organizations as a central lesson from the events of October 7. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. Jonathan Hassan wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.